Ashes of Creation community. Welcome to our August development update. We hope that you have been having a wonderful month. I still can't believe it's August. I keep forgetting, oh yeah, we just had our Alpha 1 stuff. It's just
I know.
madness. How are you doing, Stephen?
I am a bit mad at my recording this morning. I'm sorry, that's totally my fault that we were late. I wanted to, of course, record something. And when I jumped in, my recording failed to record 4 different times. And I was like, oh, I mean, each time it was successively like more angry. I got until finally it worked on like the fifth try, and I just had to calm and collect myself and just like goose fraba it, like just let it go. And that's what I did.
So you can try to hear it in his voice when the video
Yeah.
comes out. But this is why I
John was
remind you a million times
I
before
oh
to
I
do the
tried.
video.
I tried last night and I tried to fit it in, and then this I was waiting on something else this morning, and then something broke, and so I couldn't record what I wanted to record in the dev branch. I was at like 7 in the morning in the engineering channel. I'm like, this is broken and this is broken. Like, how did this go from
Over
there?
one
Like,
night, right?
I know everyone. There's just
Beauty
so many
of development.
changes. Yes.
Um, but of course, thank you all for hanging out with us. We hope that you enjoy the fan art. And actually, we have a little bit of the fan art playing in the bottom here. But if you join us early in the stream, we usually always have that playing just so people can see it. Well, I'll get right into it. Of course, I'm Margaret Crone. I'm our community marketing lead here at Ashes of Creation. And with me, as always, is Stephen Sharif, our creative director. Today, we are going to be going over some of our reminders. We have a studio update, design update, environment art update, and character update. As per usual, we like to show everything off from all of our teams, and we will do a little Q&A as well. So thank you guys for putting in your questions in advance. We always enjoy that. And if your question doesn't get answered here, our community team is amazing. And actually, we have Vacnar, who's a new community member, a community manager on our team, along with Lieutenant Toast will be answering your questions over there on the forums as well. So even if it's not answered here, you probably might see the answer over there because a lot of the questions are repeat questions usually.
I see a lot of people, by the way,
Yeah.
asking if we're in the studio yet. We are primarily in the studio, but
Yes.
from a recording standpoint, we don't yet have our recording room set up.
Which we'll talk a little bit about that in the studio update. But yeah, our conference rooms aren't completely ready to rock and roll yet. So once those are good to go, I will be reusing and repurposing one or like multi-using it for live stream stuff. And we actually just hired on a video editor as well who will be assisting with that stuff. He's awesome as well. Good peeps.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see Z says we need the fan art wall.
Oh, we definitely are planning on having one in the community area, so don't worry. Or maybe we'll put it in like the game room area so
Oh
people can see it when they
yeah.
walk or in that area all
Yeah,
the time.
cool.
Yeah, so we'll figure it out. But I mean, you guys have sent us so much fan art. We probably will have multiple walls with fan art
We'll
on it.
have the
So
wall of fame and the wall of shame and the
no,
wall.
we have talked about a wall of shame. We get some like crazy messages sometimes too, um, to say the least. But I'll get right into the reminders. First, I wanted to talk a little bit about web updates. If you didn't notice, we did have downtime last month. This allowed us to put in PayPal. We did a couple bug fixes as well, but primarily PayPal was the main thing that we were fixing as a payment processor. We know there's a couple different issues in regards to that as well. We're working to resolve those. And on top of that, we have web design for our support section of our site that's going to kind of incorporate matching it to the rest of our website. If you haven't noticed, that hasn't really transitioned over, as well as the forums, but we're going to start with the support because forums requires a lot more back-end stuff to happen. Beyond that, we're also doing back-end work that touches accounts and our SSO. This is going to help us provide more options for 2FA account security and also providing better login integration solutions cross-platform. So that means, you'll be able to log in and it'll work with our from web, which includes forums and support, and then the launcher in the future, as well as our phone app in the future as well. So kind of like integrating all of those things so you have like one profile that attaches to all of those. Right now, you probably notice you have to like log in and then you log into forums and you log into the support separately. It'll all be like one conglomerate thing. So that is my goal eventually. It just takes a lot of back end for us to do. And if you hear my cats yelling in the background, I apologize.
What is happening back there?
Yeah, they're like, so one of them chucks the mouse in the air and then the other one goes and chases it and then the other one chucks it. It's the beauty of
Oh
having
my
two cats is they
gosh.
will play with each other. But yeah,
Are these
um,
living mice or toy mice?
oh, toy mice.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
got it.
and they have like this little worm thing that they chuck around too. I don't know. But yeah, so I think that those are kind of the main things. And this will also allow us to provide you better user messaging in regards to like anytime an account, a change is made on your account as well. So like if a password is updated or things like that, we know that some of that stuff is not completely in the right state. So we want to bring it all up to date. I know, not fun stuff. So we'll move into more fun stuff. We've got our Alpha One. uh, this one does not include our Alpha One stuff, but our monthly cosmetic swap over is going to be happening on September 1st, 2021, and which is the Sears of the Black Root. So if you would like these, make sure you snag them up before our next set is released. We've got our dev discussion that we put out this month, which was what are some of the key elements you should be introduced to as a new player, and how much hand holding do you generally like to see in game? I'm sorry, they're like being really loud.
What
I hear
is this
chat.
mouse? What is this mechanical toy mouse
It's not a
doing to
mechanical
them?
toy. It's just one of those little tiny like toys. They're just going crazy. I'm sorry. It's distracting. But we really do want to know what your opinions are on new player experience. Obviously, that's the most important thing. I know there's some people in our community who have said this is going to be the first MMORPG that they've ever played. And, that is amazing for us to be part of that experience for you. I remember my first MMO. I don't know if Steven remembers his, but it's
Oh, I remember
definitely
mine.
yeah, like we really do want to make sure that we're making the experience great for you and also for everybody. So if you have opinions, please share those. I believe the community team is going to be making a report here shortly, so make sure you get those questions or those answers and
I
things
re
in there.
I remember my first death in an MMO, actually.
Ooh, I remember mine too.
It was Neverwinter Nights on AOL, and I had just gotten a quest to go like seek out some dragon egg or something. And then I walked into this room and boom, the combat started and a poison cloud got cast on me, which was like a ninth level spell or something from this Dracolich. And I was like a level 3 rogue and it killed me instantly. And I was just like, oh, that's unfortunate. I didn't even I didn't even know you could die because I was like 7 years old.
I could definitely see that. And then you're like, now what do I do?
Yeah, pretty much.
um, and of course, next month for our September dev discussion, we're going to be asking you about the much anticipated character creation. So we would love, love, love you to get your thoughts in on that. We know that a lot of people have opinions. So if you have opinions, send them over our way. In regards to our guild discussion, we had a question for you, which is what characteristics make an ideal member for your guild? How do you set and communicate those expectations and keep track of a member's performance against them? Now, this will help us a ton in regards to some of the systems we're building for guilds. So definitely go over there, toss your answers in, because that is going to assist us in making that. And to tie that in, we have app integration stuff that we're going to be talking about next month. So we'd love for you to give us your feedback. Beyond that, uh, we know that people have been asking about the content creator program. Um, remember that we are still hiring for a position. We had so many people interested in wanting to be part of this program. We want as many people to be in this program as possible. But what that means is that we need more. We need somebody to help manage the program. If it was a couple hundred people, I think I could manage it on top of my other stuff. But it is a couple plus thousands of people. So we do want you guys all to be part of our journey here and to help build our community and help build your communities. And our goal is to create a content creator program that is like nothing else that you have experienced at any other studio. It's really going to be something where we help build a community together, not only yours, but ours as a whole. Beyond that, once we do hire on a person, we are in our second round of interviews in regards to that. We have a couple candidates who look promising, so we'll see what happens in regards to those. And we'll be sending them over to Steven. I think a couple are already. And once we do hire on that staff member, not only are we going to have a content creator program, but we are building out a content creator training academy where people can kind of go into that first to kind of train you to get up to a speed where we think that you should be at if you're not quite at the point where we would want to give you an invite to the content creator program. And of course, there will be some people who just don't get into the program, but we'll always email you and let you know, what you can do to improve. Yeah. It's usually people who have no content. Like they literally have no content on their website. Like if you apply and you have no YouTube content or no Twitch content, that's hard for us to look at your content and tell if you're, streaming regularly, or if you're making content regularly, or
What if
looking
they
at the
have
quality of your content.
what if it's like MySpace content or something?
I mean, you can be a content creator. I mean, we have some people who make comics and stuff like that. That's still content creation to some extent, right? I think it just depends on the consistency of your content and like the quality is more so, the two things we're looking at. We're not looking at following and things like that. That's not. I know people have asked like, how many followers do I need? That's not what we're looking for. We want quality and consistency. All right. With that, I'm going to toss it over to Stephen to talk a little bit about studio updates.
Studio updates, absolutely. So I think we have about 70% of our team back into the studio right now. So things are going very well on that front. I gotta give a huge shout out because oftentimes in a development scene, you don't hear about the IT guys or the system administrator, and we have a very awesome sysadmin, a gentleman by the name of Jason Zimmerman, who has been doing a lot of work helping get everybody back into the studio, and he has been shouldering a lot of that responsibility himself, and he's done an amazing job. So Zim, if you're watching, the community sends you hearts and love. You are
Put a lot of hearts in chat for him.
a lot of hearts and pogs for Jason, or as we call him, Zim. So things are going really well on that front. Additionally, we've had some great hires over the past month. I think we've had 6 or 7 just this last 30 days, which these very talented individuals who are joining the team, you'll probably see more of as we, get into the dev diaries again and do future streams and whatnot. But very excited for the talent that is joining the Intrepid family. It's exciting to see, obviously, growth, but it's also very exciting just to see the sheer talent amongst the pool of candidates that we are now getting, as I think has been aided by, in part, you guys out in the community helping to spread awareness for the studio and for the project, and for helping to kind of retweet or share our job postings that we have available. We still have many more positions to fill. Obviously, while the team size is large now, we are going to be getting ever so larger, and we have space to grow now that we're in our new studio. Still waiting on some of the ancillary furniture, our conference room furnitures, our cafeteria furniture, a lot of the seating, kind of lounge area stuff. Once that stuff gets in, you guys, Margaret is literally foaming at the mouth to record footage inside the studio.
I just wanted to do a little water cooler vibe. I was gonna do kind of an Instagram stories, Snapchat thing that's we ask a different developer every day a question, and it doesn't always have to be development oriented, but kind of behind the scenes, getting to know the devs. Stephen's like, no, Margaret, no.
Not yet.
Which is funny. It's usually the other way around with me going, no, Stephen.
Let's make sure everything is tip top and in place prior to doing any sneak peeks in the studio. But yes, no, there's a lot of great content that's planned. You guys are going to enjoy getting to meet the team again. Obviously there's still some concern with regards to COVID and this Delta variant stuff, and kind of the issues we've been having here in the States. Hopefully that doesn't continue to get worse, but we're keeping an eye on it, and obviously our first priority is the safety of our team. But with that being said, we are super excited to get the videos rolling again, and move from out of this at home stream location to in the office, because that's going to be fun again as well.
And
Yes, go ahead.
we're like building out now that we have our new video editor. Him and I are kind of working out the new like in studio, what that's going to look like and what kind of equipment we're going to have. So when we do come back, it's going to be a much higher quality visual for you all. Because some people were like, I actually think this is higher quality from home, which makes sense to some extent because we were kind of using like a webcam from the office, but we're gonna have like proper cameras and stuff. So we'll be
Exciting.
setting up some cool, exciting stuff. Yeah,
Super exciting. By
yeah.
the way, you know what somebody reminded me of the other day? And I don't know if I mentioned it to you, but like, do you know we're only like 2 months away from Extra Life again?
I
From
know.
another.
Yeah. Well. Oh yeah. I know. I'm planning for it.
You better get those vocal cords ready. Are we doing some Disney songs again?
Oh, the Disney's like, oh, I was so nervous. Like my heart was
That's
gonna
so great.
jump out of my chest. I need to
That's so
practice
great.
if we're gonna do that again.
Oh yes, we need to start
Oh,
doing
we should
some
practice a
vocal
duet,
lessons. I
Stephen.
know, we need to practice a duet.
Okay.
That's what we need to do.
Tell us, community, what Disney song would you want
Oh yeah,
Steven
we
and I
should
to
do
do
some
as a
like
group?
we should do some yeah, some like pre-engagements and see what like the desires are on the community side of
Okay.
for us to
Maybe
do
we'll
stuff.
have Lieutenant Toast and Vacnar put together uh, some questions like that do some polls
Yes.
for you guys. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. We'll
So
talk
that's
about
all
that.
that's all exciting. I'm super excited for that.
We have Glorious
Um,
Gourd coming up too, because October's
I
coming up. Yeah.
know
Lots of
Halloween,
stuff.
one of my favorite holidays. Halloween, I love it. I can't wait to see the pumpkins again and all the
Oh my gosh.
jack-o'-lanterns.
Community's crazy. Y'all create some
Yes.
amazing stuff.
Yes. So that's all going good. Hiring's going well. So we have our huge kind of retrospective that we've been doing since August 15th. And now design is moving off to documentation and pitch phase for some of the changes on some of the systems that we represented in Alpha 1 and some of the things that we want to change going forward. Engineering is looking at, well, I guess we can get into those when we get into the sections. But anyways, we're going through retrospective at the studio. It's been very, very good to obviously have all of our team members go through the feedback and the forum commentary, the Reddit posts, all of your social media commentary, which community has done an amazing job summarizing that into a report that is
Multiple reports.
just I was going to say multiple reports that are very in depth and in detail, and it's a huge help. So big props to the community team, not just during the live op service of actual Alpha 1, but also in the post Alpha 1 duties that you guys have been fulfilling. A really amazing job, Sarah, Margaret, and
Cody,
Cody. Yeah,
Adam,
Adam, exactly.
Peter. Yeah. They've
So you got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Once you start naming one, you gotta name them all.
I
But
know
yeah,
that.
they all did an amazing job putting together the reporting in regards to their fields, and we tried to go as quickly as we could, not as quickly as we could, but be as thorough and get you guys data as quickly as possible. And then on top of that, we are doing some subsidiary reports pending what development is looking for. So if design needs reports on something a little bit more in depth, we are going to be doing those. Production is going to be sending that list to us soon. But and if they want feedback on something that you guys didn't really talk about, we may put out some little mini dev discussions just to the Alpha 1
Yes,
testers in regards to that. Or maybe just broad. We could do them broader as well, maybe. We'll
for
have to
sure.
discuss that because I think it'll depend on if it's like something that's experience versus something that could be visually feedbacked. Does that make sense? Because
Yeah,
like if you were watching something and being able to get feedback versus like actually the feel of something. But yeah,
for sure.
lots of reporting going on, and we'll talk a little bit more. And I guess we can kind of move into design. Do you want to
Yeah.
play the video first, or do you want to talk a little bit about some of the things?
Sure. Yeah, we can play the video first. This is a super short video. I wanted to do something else, but there was a little bit of a bug in the development build, which is fine. So,
Was it the combat bug? That one?
yeah,
Oh,
there's a
okay.
combat bug, and there's
Yeah.
like a zoom issue, and it's okay. It'll get fixed. But
It's like one
that
day and it's broke.
I know. It's unfortunate. But this so last month I gave a description of what I felt was a really accurate description of the terror bird.
I
And
someone did clip it for me, so thank you. It was so funny. I laughed out loud. It was great.
yes, so I wanted to actually just kind of show you the terror bird in the game, and also, show you. I don't know if you guys remember the Thundering Bolt Beast, and show you some the new flower monsters and some of the VFX changes that we're doing based on feedback from the Alpha One. So it's just a quick little 5-minute video. But of course, I know you guys enjoy that stuff. So yeah, we can start with that, and then we can go into design after.
All right. I'm just remembering when I designed the Thundering Bolt Beast, Steven's like, Margaret, what are you doing?
Yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, that tail, Margaret. Like, you're going to give one of the animators a heart attack. How many joints are needed for each of those little wings?
Yeah, this is when we transitioned over to like we have to use the base models for everything. All right. Well, video is going to be playing here, and we'll see you right after.
Hello, glorious Ashes of Creation community. Welcome to another stream day inside of Ashes of Creation. The world's a little lonely right now. Our month-long Alpha 1 test has finished, and there are no testers to be seen near me, which is probably good for them, because I just wanted to take a second. I know last stream I gave a masterful description of a new mount that had been introduced called the Terror Bird. And I wanted to actually, complement that very well done description with actually seeing the Terror Bird in game. And so, yeah, like I said, it's good there's probably no testers around because this guy is hungry, very hungry. But just wanted to show you guys it in game. We have a lot of work ahead of us towards Alpha 2. Part of that work is, of course, introducing content into the game and the different creatures and mounts and all the quest lines and fleshing out the core systems that we demonstrated in Alpha 1. And this guy's part of that work. And that stuff's making it into the game. We have a long road ahead of us, of course, but we got a great amount of feedback from Alpha 1 across our forums, Reddit, social medias, Discord. Even if you weren't a tester, and we love our testers, but even if you weren't a tester, participating in that conversation and giving your feedback is a super important part, as I've said many, many times. But yeah, take a look at this guy. He's pretty cool. We're going to have some variants of him in soon as well. You may remember, actually, I think I have one more mount I can show as well. You might remember in the past we showed off some of the model work under the Thundering Bolt Beast, and now his animations are complete. Our masterful animator, Bradford Constantine, I think, did the animations for this guy. I like to call him the chicken runner, because when he's on land, he kind of runs to me like a chicken, a little bit. He's just kind of striding, enjoying life, doing what you do in the world of Vera. And he can sprint on land as well, I believe is one of his initial abilities. Let's see. Oh yeah, he just takes longer strides. But something that's cool about these guys, particularly these types of mounts that have the ability to glide, is of course you have to level up the mount for it to get a greater glide distance. So initially it might not be super capable of gliding. Let's see. Hold on. Let's see how far I can glide. All right, here we go. Wait for it. Wait for it. And oh, look at that. Okay, not too bad. Not too bad. That glide, I mean, for not having been leveled up at all, the glide's pretty good. But as you level him up, he'll be able to glide further and further and further and further. If you manage, of course, as you know, if you manage to become a mayor of a metropolis or the king or queen of a castle, or if you get this guy as like a limited time drop off of a world boss, then you'll have the ability to be amongst the very few who can fly him. And when he flies, he is majestic. Oh, I love the cool tail and all the wings on him. It is pretty awesome, this guy. So yeah, just wanted to jump in, give you a look at some of these creatures. Of course, you guys saw some of the combat changes that we did. Oh, I got some flowers down there. Hold on one second. We're going to be continuing moving forward with those combat changes. One cool thing you might see as well is some of the adjustments to our visual effects and just art overall, right, as we move forward. For example, this Radiant Burst, we got a lot of feedback about the sparkles. And in the first pass, of course, sparkles are easy to do. But now that we've had some time initially to kind of look at that feedback, you'll see the Radiant Burst effect has changed to something a little bit more indicative of what effects are going to look like going forward. I love this plant creature. These poor guys, when they die, their petals just go flying. But yes, so a little short update in the empty game world of Ashes of Creation right now as we continue development towards Alpha 2. But I will see you guys back on stream here in just a little bit.
And we're back. Oh my gosh, the petals falling off. That death animation is so cool. I was watching.
I feel bad every time that thing dies.
It's so beautiful. And then when I was watching the thundering bolt beast fly, I was like, oh, okay, maybe it's a little weird. Why did I design that? I don't know what I was thinking.
I think it looks great. It's a cool beast. You guys will notice also in the footage that there's some heavy clipping. That's some just general touch-ups after a mount is added to a game. You're going to have those types of clipping issues, but those will be touched up. And it's cool with the Thundering Bolt Beast. Actually, a lot of people have always asked, like, well, what's going to be the degree by which you can actually glide with these types of gliding mounts, right? And that's something that has to be built up over time for the mount itself as it levels up, essentially. And I think we might even include, this is some design discussions we've been having, there's variance among the speeds that mounts can have based on how those mounts get introduced into the world, whether it be through the animal husbandry system or whether it be through merchant tables or through rare drops or granted by title requirements. They'll have varying degrees of abilities like speed, and they might also have modifiers to their glide distance as well. So that, when I just jumped off, it was very little glide. Like, there was no glide at all almost. But as you level it up or you get higher training for the mount, the abilities to glide will be much further and further and further. So that was something that was cool. But yeah, no, I love the way it looked when it was flying. I thought it was cool, all the little wings.
On so many wings. All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about what design has been doing. We'll step back a little bit and talk a little bit about Alpha 1. What data did you guys gather, and how do you think it's going to be helping us as we move forward towards Alpha 2 milestone?
Sure. So a lot of really what design has been focusing on as part of these since August 15th, has been kind of drilling into the existing documentation around our core mechanics and systems and applying what we visually observed during Alpha 1. For example, one of the big systems obviously is combat, right? Combat is a very integral component of any MMORPG. It's the most tactile interfaced with system in the game. And you guys saw some of the initial combat changes that we were able to roll out during Alpha 1, but now as we move forward towards Alpha 2, we're really going to start expanding, fleshing that out further, adding additional polish for those, because there's a lot of subtleties that go into combat, right? And many of those subtleties have to do with UI and how we present information to the player. They go into specific timings with our frames in the attacks for weapons. They go into kind of the ability design and what we learned from that. So as design kind of observed feedback both from players as well as collected the data from Alpha 1, we're using that to kind of reanalyze, and actually I think we have, after this retrospective, I think it's probably going to be at least, I would say, 2 to 3 weeks of many hours that will be taking up my daily schedule with the design team as we go through what we call the pitch phase, where each designer is assigned essentially a particular system that they go through the documentation for, and based on observations from Alpha 1 or based on the discussions that we've had with the community, they start identifying components of a particular system and presenting pitches for how we might change those particular systems in anticipation for Alpha 2. And then that pitch gets presented to myself and to our design quorum and to the other designers, where it's then open for conversation and discussion. And obviously, it's very helpful to have the documents that community provides the developers so that we can get a good summary of what's out there from a discussion standpoint amongst the community, and we can incorporate that as part of our internal reviews of these systems and those pitches. So that's generally what design has been up to thus far. From an actual implementation standpoint, there's some additional components such as tool request to engineering, helping to flesh out additional parts of the world map as we're moving towards Alpha 2. Obviously, it's a significant expansion of the world, so that's going to incorporate everything across the board, from design, from narrative to world pop to level design to fleshing out itemization and additional resource components. Like, there's a lot of stuff that's on the plate for Alpha 2 that design is now essentially going to be helping to guide the other departments as part of what our desires are for Alpha 2.
Cool, cool. And obviously we put together a lot of the feedback reports, compiling that from like social media to our forums, every platform that you guys have ever spoken on, as well as even like data that we pulled from other places. How is design incorporating those as they're going through these design docs that you guys are talking about for these pitches?
Yeah, generally, so the first thing that we do is obviously we get an assessment of the original doc and the system and its components. And then in the pitch phase, when we're taking into account observations and or feedback from the community, we are citing essentially topic discussions and community sentiment across different social mediums, whether it be our forums or Reddit that you guys have provided as part of your summary from the community, right? Twitter, for everywhere,
everything.
Right? Yeah, and when we have discussions as the design team on how we want to move forward with either changes, adaptations to particular things, we are referencing community sentiment. How does that sentiment stay in line with what our core philosophies are, right? Our core pillars. Now, a lot of people have said we got to be careful. You can't listen to obviously everything that the community says because there's differing opinions out there. And I think that's not lost on us. Like, we're not looking to fundamentally change the identity of Ashes of Creation through community feedback. I think we've kind of laid out what those pillars are. We have gotten buy-on from the community with regards to, does that resonate with you guys? And then now we look to increase essentially the positive reception on these core pillars without changing fundamentally the idea or the design of the game, so to
it's
speak.
like this is what we're creating and the product that we're creating. But if we can resolve some of these problems and these issues that you all are worried about or encountering with the design that we have, and still keeping to what we're trying to achieve, I think that's totally, obviously
For sure.
we would want 100% to do that. Cool. You talked a little bit already about what the design team is doing, but in regards to the engineering team, obviously, until they get those design docs to be able to start, going deep into those systems, what are they doing in the interim?
In the interim, I'm sorry, say it one last one time. I had an emergency text. Say the
Okay.
question one more time.
You talked a lot about, or quite a bit about what the design team is doing specifically, but obviously the engineering team is kind of waiting a little bit on some of those design docs. What are they doing in the interim whilst they
Absolutely.
wait for those?
Well,
There's no waiting, I know.
yeah, I was gonna say. So they have their tasks for Alpha 2 as well, and that relates kind of to the outstanding feature work that's required and present still for the systems that we'll be bringing online in Alpha 2, right? So as we've said in Alpha 1, and what a lot of people saw as you were watching Alpha 1, those are core systems. Those are the core functionality of those systems. But there's additionally, outside of that core functionality, there's obviously bells and whistles. There's expanded functionality that we want to have present. There's optimization work that needs to be done. There's some tech debt that gets accrued as part of any milestone, right? You kind of you for those of you guys who may not understand like tech debt as a reference, but essentially as you're working towards a particular milestone, obviously you have the best of intentions with regards to doing things the right way as you're moving through, but sometimes as time dwindles away and you're getting up across the deadline, certain things require a little bit more work than you have time to do, and that's when we do in kind of stopgap measures and kind of shortcuts on some of those things, which is okay to have a little bit of tech debt. And part of that process is identifying what those to-do tasks are in part of the code base, going back, taking out what was put in temporarily, and implementing the correct process as well. So that's a little bit of what engineering is doing as well. But they're also participating in the retrospective and also identifying some of the core features and what technical implementation was utilized in order to present those core features and how we should rethink some of those things. Obviously, it's not as going. Excuse me. It's not going to be. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
It's not going to be as intensive as actually writing the system over again or having to reauthor it, obviously, but it is identifying where certain areas can be changed as part of writing a particular mechanic and how that interacts even with other mechanics as well.
He doesn't have COVID, you guys. He's just
No, I'm
Steven
fine.
has had a cough
I'm sorry.
forever. Like,
Yeah.
you just kind of have that, right? Like it's a
Sometimes I just talk too much, honestly. I think it's just I just get a dry throat, and the more I'm like talking, the worse it gets.
and yes, it's not wine in his glass, it's water.
Yes, the water helps.
You always drink it out of like what looks like a wine glass, so people are like, "Is he
It's a
drinking
goblet.
wine?"
A goblet.
He's just fancy AF, okay?
Fancy schmancy.
In regards to engineering, they also were working a little bit more on some of the things for security that came up, and obviously
Correct.
some things that we're looking forward to doing in Alpha 2. Do you want to talk a little bit about that as well?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, so, for Alpha 1, and those of you guys who kind of observed, we actually had a relatively stable environment for Alpha 1. I mean, there were a few times where we had to bring up the servers, back up again, and there were some security attacks that we had to address. It wasn't really our primary focus, at least on the ancillary security components of the game. Obviously, in the game code itself, there was a focus on making sure that things were secure there, but like login and authentication and DDoS protections and DOS protections, like that wasn't really at the forefront of our mind for Alpha 1, which is fine because when they came up during Alpha 1, I was actually very impressed with our team's responsiveness and the ability to deploy countermeasures as part of that process. And I don't hold anything against, people who come and probe, the security protections. Like in a way that actually helps. I mean, I would prefer they come to us and tell us directly, but in a way it helps our investigative process. It helps the way that we're able to deploy hot fixes. Those are the things that we want to get out of the way in Alpha 1. And, I know at the end of the day, even if malicious actors are targeting us, it's like, they're targeting us because they want to play a great game, hopefully.
Ideally, if you encounter an
Ideally.
exploit or a bug or something security oriented, we would
Yes.
prefer you reach out to us privately. You can DM me
Agreed.
or Toast or Wagner
Or me.
or Steven. Steven, you have a
Doesn't
lot
get
of
lost.
DMs,
I know.
so
It doesn't get
you
lost in
might
the
get
DM.
lost. But if you DM one of the community team members, like the community manager or me, we will get on it right away. Like those things are things that, we're working with engineering on all the time. And we have had people reach out to us in the past in
I
regards
like
to those type of things.
I like somebody said hacked out of love copium. Okay, maybe a little bit of copium, but regardless, it was great to see the team's response to that because we had issues.
I felt so bad. I'd be like calling somebody up at 3
know.
a.m.
I
Help.
know. I know. But I thought we performed very well in that. So with that regard, going forward, obviously Alpha 2 is where we're going to employ more stringent security measures, especially around those ancillary systems and as part of the game code even further. Because, from our perspective, obviously MMORPGs, when you have a large amount of players that are participating across many different systems and in a single environment, there's always going to be opportunities for certain individuals to do things that are a little bit unsavory. In that regard, that's going to be a focus for us going forward to Alpha 2.
All right. Speaking of Alpha 2, I know that people are wanting a date. We don't have a date for you, so we will not be announcing that on this stream. When we do have a date, we will let you know. But obviously right now, our main thing is kind of going through, making sure that we have all the systems in ready, or getting those things ready and prepared, and figuring out time frames that those things are going to take, tasks, things like that. So it's going to be a little while, but we will let you guys know when we are ready, to let you know when Alpha 2 is coming. In regards to Alpha 2, can we talk a little bit about what the users can expect in Alpha 2? I know you won't be able to go through everything because it's a lot, but
Yeah.
the highlights maybe.
Yeah, honestly, Alpha 2 is really taking Alpha 1 and fleshing out all of those systems much, much further, right? Um, So one of the main things is going to be obviously node progression outside of just stage three, perhaps up to city, if not metropolis stage for Alpha 2. Another component is going to be drastically increasing the world size, and that incorporates obviously a significant amount of other work, such as all the quest lines, the level of progression, incorporating secondary archetype choices, having augment capabilities as part of the combat system and the skill trees, incorporating the weapon skill trees as part of that, having a vast array of diverse creatures to select from, having some more of the spawner influence and changes that get adjusted in the world based on node progression, incorporating more of the parent vassal system and how nodes interact with each other, expanding out the guild skill trees, really doing a significant revamp on gathering and the way that we're actually going to start demonstrating the real gathering systems, the itemization and crafting components, just general artisanship tree. Those are big portions of what needs to be done, but also dialing in on things like diminishing returns and the way that buffs get applied and or debuffs get applied, the types of the types of status effects and status conditions and how they're represented to the players. There's a lot of stuff that goes into moving from Alpha 1 to Alpha 2, and just to make sure you guys, as you're viewing and you're tuning in, and this gets viewed on YouTube or the VOD later, there's a lot of work that's necessary for Alpha 2. And with that regard, of course, we're going to be keeping you up to date, and Margaret and her team are going to be keeping everybody up to date and interfacing with you guys as we move forward. But from a amount of work standpoint, there's going to be some time here where there's a little bit of downtime. We had a lot of kind of showing of what's happening behind the scenes, and Alpha 1 itself, and there was no NDA attached to that, and you got to see players in the world, and that's all great. But now we really need to heads down focus on Alpha 2. We have a lot of work ahead of us. All the teams have a lot of work ahead of us, and there's going to be some down period between Alpha 1 and Alpha 2. There will still be some spot tests. We'll still invite some of the testers from Alpha 1 back to to participate as part of those spot tests become necessary, dictated by our developers. But there's going to be some patience to be had, and as we spend the time that's necessary to make sure we're getting things right and are incorporating the right feedback that we received during Alpha 1 and stuff.
Yeah, we just really want to set expectations. And when we are ready to tell you the Alpha 2 date, we will. But in the interim, we will be continuing to do our monthly updates. You guys will get to see the progress. I think, I'm even looking back and seeing a lot of what you guys say already is like, you've watched the journey, and it's been pretty cool to see that. It's gonna be even crazier because we're gonna have some really cool stuff come online, and so you're still gonna see those systems as they come online, and piece by piece, and of course new art and like just basically everything from our teams. I think you'll actually see more stuff from design, especially as we move forward, because now Alpha 2 is really where a lot of those other systems are going to be starting to come online that, we're very much in engineering's field, and so we can't really show you what engineering is doing. Although McP has offered to show me code, I was like, probably shouldn't show that on the stream. But yeah, we do have lots of cool things for you guys planned. A lot of dev diary stuff will be coming back online once the studio's ready and Steven approves that I can start recording in there. And yeah, we just got a lot of cool things planned. So even in the interim, we will continue to share updates with you all, and even some more behind the scenes stuff once the office is ready for that. So with that, I think we're ready to move on to environment if you are.
I am ready.
Okay. The first thing we want to discuss actually with in regards to the environment update is that they are currently working on terrain and node R&D. Before I even show you guys some of the art stuff that they've got for me to showcase, do you want to talk a little bit about what that research and development is and how that's going to be incorporated into the game?
The R&D for, I'm sorry, you cut out for me.
Terrain and node.
Oh,
Yeah.
Trainer Node. Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, as you guys saw in Alpha 1, the nodes weren't super visually aesthetic, right? They were functional. They had the buildings placement. They had NPCs that spawned. They would grow in size. The territory of collection for experience would change. The base functionality of the platform technology and how they're procedurally generated, that was functioning as well. But from a terrain perspective, essentially the plug of terrain and how the terrain changes when a node advances, making sure that it's seamless at level 0, making sure that it has, foliage that's properly placed, and when you get into the layout, having some height changes, having different materials for the roads, and just kind of spending time on prettying up the nodes. Part of the R&D component is obviously going to be examining how much we can change the terrain and make it very seamless when it's set in the world for the node itself, but also extrapolating out from just stage 3 into stage 4, into a town, into a city, and eventually a metropolis. A lot of R&D is going to be placed in not just how we achieve those larger footprints of the node itself, but the location and placement and what parameters design has to set as part of the platform tech for particular buildings.
Speaking of design,
Specifically,
I saw a prototype that one of them did, and that was pretty cool. They were like prototyping
oh,
some
you
of the
mean
node stuff.
Bucky Collins did a
Amazing.
great job using very I think he was using Java to create this this so on the world map of Vera, right, he has these locations set for every single of the 103 node locations. And then he's incorporated a point system to determine the value of each essentially district, each parent node as it absorbs other nodes. And through that we can run simulations over and over and over and over again to play out the way that nodes are going to move. Like for example, I guess I really shouldn't give that information, but this stuff in the back end, which is predetermines essentially how nodes progress from a territory standpoint. That's a very important component. But from the environment side, on the R&D stuff, that's really going to be like, how can we make sure that node placements are equitable when it comes to sieging and defenses of those particular nodes, the types of number of gates you have to make it through in order to reach the town center, not having too much terrain around a node that just makes it so easy. Like if a node's in a basin and like you can have trebuchets on the top of terrain, like raining down fire out of the range, or fire for, attack back from the node itself. Like that's part of the R&D, the research and development aspect of determining the right type of layouts that need to be preset from a parameter standpoint as part of this procedural generation, because we also want nodes to look very different. We don't want nodes to look the same, right? So for Alpha 1, it was just about standing up the tech, making sure the tech is working correctly, that we're collecting the experience, that we're surfacing the stuff to the player. And now, as we move towards Alpha 2, we really need to dial in on the R&D aspect of, okay, we need to define these parameters accurately. We need to theory craft out each of these parameters and each of these node locations as they progress. What impact is that going to have on things like sieges? What impact is it going to have on things like, having those buildings and NPCs present, and what number of available plots are possible at a maximum stage node? So there's just a lot of stuff that goes into it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I can ramble, so just cut me off when I'm talking
No,
too
you're
much.
good. You're good. All right, I'm gonna swap over and I'm gonna show you guys some concept art. So first thing I have here is the volcano landscape that they're working on. I love seeing the concept art because you guys have seen some of the concept art in the past of the different terrains, and then we show you the screenshot of in game, and it's like It looks exactly the same. It's so hard to tell sometimes because our artists are just so amazing. But can you talk a little bit about what this area is, other than obviously
Yeah.
volcanic?
So this is lava, and you can tell it's lava because it's bright and glowing a little bit. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, no, this is obviously
Steven likes to troll me.
there's a there's a wide array of different types of biomes that's present, and one of these components is obviously how do we portray landscapes that are not just beautiful but are also dangerous. And there's obviously environmental hazards and effects that can be part of these types of terrains, and we want to not just show always the prettiest side of Vera, but also show the more I don't want to say vulgar, but like the more antagonistic
Gritty,
aspects, gritty,
dark.
the gritty, dark. Yeah, exactly. So that includes stuff like corruption and how it kind of perverts the land, or these more kind of apocalyptic scenes where you have these, large flowing rivers of lava, emanating from a giant volcano, and because we're able to like significantly increase the draw call distance that you can see the world around you, it's cool because you may see this volcano from a 30-minute distance trek across the realm, but once you reach it, not just because of the surrounding area that you see here that's concepted out, but that there is something deep in that volcano that's compelling, like you want to go
Ooh,
inside,
like the
you
lava
like, so
creatures.
yes, exactly, right.
Also, in one of the concept arts, it's like a double rainbow of lava.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the great thing about these types of concepts is they're not just identifying the specific biome, but they're incorporating the type of perspective you want to have with those long draw calls, right? With being able to see that mountain at a distance, or having the world lighting break through the clouds. That's present there, and I think that gives the environment team a good direction on not encapsulating every trek across the world, because a lot of MMOs we've played, those zones are super encapsulated. Like, oh, I'm always blocked because there's some tall mountain that doesn't let me see beyond it, and it's like right next to me, or I have a very curated path that I have to follow, and that can just be a super boring thing.
Yeah. If there's a waterfall, there better be something hidden behind it.
That's
No.
right.
And of course, Stephen talked a little bit about the different nodes. The first thing here I'm going to show you is actually a bunch of props for the Dunir. We're building out more things. So we have, this is actually a fireplace. It's work in progress one. So maybe next month you'll get to see the final of it. We've been showing a lot of the different stuff that's going to be in houses and in nodes. This is a podium that you'll probably see in a town. Um, and then we also have some bridges. You can see a couple different variants of bridges here. And I think we have an image for scale in game with one of the bridges popped into the game. Obviously, that's not where it's going to be, but they just popped it in there so you can see for scale.
Yeah, and these are important because as nodes advance, again, they don't just reflect changes within the node's footprint, but actually structures will form like harbors and bridges that help to provide trade related resources, more world development components, and these are the types of structures you're going to see develop alongside the nodes in the world.
And then we have signs, and then as well as a defensive barrier, one of the defensive barriers that they're working on. And then I will show you that I think that's the back side of it. Because you'll be able to like set up defenses and stuff whenever your freehold is, or your node is attacked. Empyrean ones here are the next ones. So you can kind of see a very different version of these. So these are some of the fencing that you'll see. Very pretty.
Very pretty.
Yeah, Empyrean are like, their art is so interesting because it's still very refined, but then it's got the Elven look to it, which is really cool.
Oh yeah.
Another fence. I believe this is a gate. Yeah, for the fence. So you could open it.
Yeah, it looks great. Environment team always does such a great job bringing to life these cultures. It might not
It's a
seem
fountain.
much as you view individual like fences or fountains and these kind of props that are present across the world, but when you start putting all of these things together to represent, an entire town, village, or whatever, they do a great job making these things all exist in
Make it
together and one another.
cohesive,
Doesn't,
yeah.
yeah, cohesive, doesn't make it feel like it's standing out or apart or a sore thumb, so to speak.
Yeah, and then these are some of the lighting, like the sconces that go on the wall versus the ground, versus just general ones that you'll be seeing that will help light up the areas. And then a weapon rack, because you got to have weapon racks. And I think that's all of the Empyrean props. But yeah, they are working on, fleshing out a lot of those things, creating more pieces that are going to make the world feel a little bit more lively. And also some of the things that you guys will be able to utilize in your freeholds, like fencing for your stables and your creatures to
Right.
keep them in, So like we need a lot of those pieces. So you're going to see a lot of like furniture pieces for all of the different races coming in as you've seen each month progressively. Next up, we've got character art. I guess we'll start with this one. This is actually where I was going to leave off, but this is Paula's cat, which is
Aww.
just, oh my gosh, the coolest thing ever. I was actually going to end on this one, but
Oh, yeah.
I'll go backwards instead.
Yeah, that's good. Look at him or her. Is it him or
I
her?
don't know. Jinsey will have to let us know. This is a
Yeah.
Jinsey creation. It
So
is
this is an
awesome.
in-game achievable mount. Is that correct?
Correct. This is not a cosmetic one.
So this is not cosmetic. This is achievable in-game. Now I'm pretty sure that this particular mount is probably going to be achieved through some of the animal husbandry system. Um, and that's likely going to be through the crossbreeding of a normal domesticated house cat and a bear, a wild bear.
Oh my
No, I'm
gosh.
just, I'm just kidding.
What?
I'm
I'm
just
just
joking.
imagining a house cat and a bear, and I'm like, Steven, how? What?
I'm totally, I'm just joking.
People in
But
chat were saying it should be making the same sounds that my cat was
is
making.
that, yeah, I was gonna say, is that why the cat's making those noises? No, I'm just kidding.
Oh,
Um,
I can
so
record
no,
some audio for you. You can use it.
perfect. Just have that playing on the freehold as like the sounds when you're trying to make. That would be so good.
Oh my
No, but
gosh.
this is an in-game achievable. It will be derived through some method of exploring the animal husbandry system.
And then you can see it with the mount and the armor as well versus alone by itself. Next up, I'm going to go backwards. So I got to go. We've got the Black Sight Watcher. So this is a cosmetic one. This is from a Halloween set previously. I helped design. It's got like 6 eyes. It's very cool. And it's based off of some of the ravens that were created. So we built out some ravens. I love the like albino vibe raven. It needs a red eye.
The Graven,
The
the
graven.
the Gray Raven.
Oh, I love it. Maybe we make a really like really pale one that
Oh
is got a
yeah,
red eye for the yeah.
that'd be
Ooh, I
cool.
like the graven idea. And then we have the carmine chameleon. Looks so cute. This turned out so good. This is part of the Valentine's Day set. Very neat.
Now, is that's a pet
It is
or
a
mount?
mount.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That I mean, if you didn't have a saddle, that would be really uncomfortable.
We could make him a pet too, though. We could make
No,
like a little
I'm just
baby
saying,
version.
like, if you were riding that thing without a saddle, like
Oh, it
that,
would hurt.
oh, that crystal wasn't meant to be there. You know what I mean? Like that would be unfortunate.
Don't bear back the carmine chameleon.
Oh no.
But yeah, these are meant to be. My thought process is that I would love to have these be like in like a cavern, and then like you don't realize that it's a creature, and you go to like mine it, and then it like comes out and attacks you. That's what I
Oh
was
yeah.
thinking. Yeah.
And what if he just like poops crystals and you can like harvest it?
Oh, that'd be
Oh yeah, like
lovely.
that's one of his actions, like his top tier action
That'd
is
be
just
pay to
like
win, Steven.
24. Well, oh, that's true. No, it would have to be part of the base value.
Yeah, the base creature.
Yeah,
We could make a base creature that is
that
a
poops resources.
yeah.
I'm just kidding.
I mean, it's probably going to happen. It's fine. The next thing we have here is the Greaves of Pride. So you can kind of see the final version, and then we'll also show you kind of the work in progress and how these work. So sometimes you get to see the gray scale versions of each of these things, like you did with the fireplace. But this is one where you get to kind of see the whole process of it, which is really cool.
I love the detail, and I would say that partly, obviously, outside of the fact that we have very talented artists, but partly the reason for these types of detail on the armor sets and the weapons is that as part of our home system, you'll be able to have certain types of furnitures that allow you
Mhm.
to place armor sets as display, and having those armors be intricately detailed like this one, I think is going to be a really cool added bonus to how each of the players customizes their homes and
Oh
stuff.
yeah, like housing decor. People love to have the models of the items put in their house. I've seen people do that kind of
Absolutely.
stuff all the time, or have like a room, like a dressing room with like a bunch of mannequins lined up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, with all like the armor that you're really proud of from raiding and stuff. But yeah, this is really cool. Uh, I'm still in shock of how amazing our artists are. Like it looks like the concept. It's crazy. Next up, we've got the fuming tincture, which you can see this work in progress. So this is actually a cosmetic accessory item that goes onto like a bottle on your belt, or that goes on a bottle that's on your backpack that dangles from it. So you can actually swap those things out and make like different looks and vibes. And this is from the
Yeah.
Halloween set a few years
Very
ago,
cool.
or a couple years ago. I helped design this one.
Yay.
The next thing is the Coil of Crackling Skies. This is actually part of the set with the Thundering Bolt Beast. This is one of the rings that you could get to see. And yes, you will have rings in game and
Look
necklaces and
at that.
earrings.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Looks
Turned
great.
out really great. I want to see how like rings like reflect. You know how they're like shiny with the lighting.
Yeah, I'd love to have like jewelry boxes as part of like furniture as well, and like
Oh,
let you
yes.
put jewelry in the box.
You can propose to somebody with a little jewelry
Ah,
box.
that'd be so
Oh,
cool.
because we are gonna have weddings. Oh, I'm so excited. I'm so excited for like just community stuff like
The
that. That's gonna be
RP.
great.
Oh yeah.
We will definitely 100% have to have like a Varen interior decorating show series on like
Oh,
Twitch and YouTube.
easily.
We will we
Yeah.
will we will make that happen because I love that
I'm
idea.
sure there's going to be like also, Varen companies out in the game world that sell their
Yeah.
in-house decor services,
Well,
and
they'd have
like
to be
you
able
can
to
add
edit.
them to your family and then give the permission to deploy based on that, right?
Okay.
For the property or
I think
whatever,
in the
and then
past you had said that we wouldn't provide permissions like that for somebody
did
else to
I?
come in and like change stuff
Oh,
like
pick
that.
up. Yeah, they can
Yeah.
access like inventories and stuff, but yeah,
Maybe
that's
that's something we
true.
have to talk about because in the
Yeah.
past at other places that I have worked as well, we've allowed people to do that, and it's been pretty cool. You can like hire somebody
Yeah.
to like help interior decorate because people would like make a hot tub out of like crazy weird stuff, like putting them together. It was
That's
madness.
true.
Um, all
We
right,
should
next.
I like somebody said, Magisto ASC said, how about cleaning them? We should have houses get dirty over time. And like if you don't clean them, like you take
Little roaches and stuff.
yeah, you get like a negative on like the house decor functionalities. And you could hire cleaning services. I'm just totally
Design,
kidding.
good luck, and
I'm just,
artists, good luck with that. But some games do that. Like Animal Crossing has it. If you don't come back for a while, there's like little bugs and you have to go stomp on
right.
them. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm just
It doesn't
kidding.
have to be too crazy. You could have it be
You got
simple.
to make your bed in the morning.
That would be funny. We're going into Sims now, which I love. So, um, this is the Lorica Vindicta set, which was our March set for this year, cosmetic set. Really cool. And we have a
Yeah,
turntable
that
of it.
looks great. Sparta.
I was going for kind of that, uh, March Ives vibe.
Oh, the Ides of March.
Yeah, Ides of March. This is Vera.
This is Vera.
It's not so much Spartan per se, but
True. They would have to have no chest plate if it was Spartan.
Yeah. No, just kidding.
There'd be no breastplate there.
Sandals. Nice sandals. Yeah, of course. Steven, we'll have to get Steven a pair of these sandals.
Oh yeah. Actually, I'm not allowed to wear sandals anymore.
I know.
It's very
Sad.
sad.
How can you be Sandalord without wearing sandals?
I don't know. I don't know. It's so sad.
All right. Well, next up we have Threads of Fate, which looks amazing.
Bless you.
They didn't hear me, but you did.
Oh, bless you.
My allergies are going crazy, so that's why I'm keep coughing and sneezing.
Yeah, Eli did this set, I believe.
And he even made the weapons, which
Yeah,
aren't part of
looks great.
the cosmetic that you get.
We'll find somewhere to put them.
But we will find somewhere to use them. And we have a turntable of this as well, so you can kind of see that.
Oh, I love it.
It looks so good.
Great job, Eli. Looks very good.
We did a little zoom in. Yeah, we got really high
Oh,
quality.
nice. Got a little
sized
zoom in
assets
going.
Yeah,
Holy
we got really high
smokes.
quality assets for this, so thank you for. I always love when artists send us the high quality stuff because we can do more fun with it.
We
Mike
should put
Vecchio,
these
good
guys
job.
on like top of a ziggurat and like have the instead of the light in the hand, just like a pulsating heart, and they're just like eating it. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, I'm sure the design team is gonna find some fun places to put these. But yeah, just so you guys know, all of the creatures and NPCs that we create for these monthly cosmetics, you are helping us develop the world. These are going to be in the game as
Yes.
NPCs, as creature variants, etc. I mean, you probably already have seen them through Alpha 1. But yeah, you're helping us really like build it out. Next up, we've got Dunier plate set. There's 2 different versions of this. So this is the first one.
And this one's in-game achievable, yes?
Yes, correct. And you get to see
Nice.
the progression path
Oh,
of
cool.
the armor set as well. Little horns on that one. This one has like a little mohawk.
Yep. So just again to give you context in comparison between armor sets that are achievable in game and the cosmetic skins that people can purchase. Obviously, again, our primary objective is that we keep those equitable. That you are not, a lot of games probably many of us have played. You're forced to consider the purchase of cosmetic sets if you want to look good at all. That will not be the case in Ashes. There is both a path towards achieving really cool looking in-game items based on your efforts, and then also an alternative option in the cosmetic shop.
And of course, all of the cosmetics, you have to own an item to put that item on.
Correct.
So you can't just like
No
immediately at
pay to
level
win here.
1 have the coolest armor. Cool. All right.
What is that? What is that? Have you seen that meme where they're like, it's King Theoden and Gandalf's walking. He's like, "There's no pay to win here, Gandalf Stormcrow." And it's like, "I told you to take the wizard's credit card."
Oh my god.
I'm sorry.
You're fine. It's funny. All right, let's move on to our Q&A. So we've got questions here from the community, and if we don't answer your question here, definitely go check the forums. Toast and Vacnar will be adding answers to your lovely questions over there after this. So even if you don't get answered here, you may get answered there, or they'll let you know if you should, put them in for next time. So half tilt gamer and Pickadoliver want to know about Alpha 1. What were some of the team's biggest takeaways from Alpha 1 testing? I mean, we talked a little bit about that, but
we did talk a little bit.
If you could pick one thing, what's your one thing that you think you took away from Alpha 1? Just one.
Just one?
Yeah.
My gosh. Wow. That's super tough. There's so many, so many different things. I guess the biggest takeaway probably would be the direction of combat and the fluid nature we want to have between tab and action. The direction on the melee combat, the great amount of work that the new ability system team did, especially on the back end side of things. But the biggest takeaway I would say is that we're heading in the right direction. Now we just need to add some further polish, some bells and whistles, and continue down the path of that more free-form melee component and the really responsive, fast type of feedback from combat in the ability usage as well.
I think from my perspective, it's definitely the user flow process from downloading to
Oh yeah.
patching and getting in the game client. I think we still have some improvements that we need to
Oh yeah.
make in regards to that. And obviously, internally, I think there's some live operations communications that we need to work out and get those kinks set up. But I think those to me would be big takeaways from the perspective of like what we were trying to test in this Alpha 1.
For sure.
Feedback from Audenix wants to know, or Audenix wants to know about feedback. I went dyslexic there for a moment. What is one thing you wish us testers and community members better understood about the development process in order to give more valuable feedback? Ooh, can I answer this one?
Sure.
I think for feedback, the best things that you can do are a brief sentence on what the issue is that you're encountering, repro steps on how to reproduce the counter, uh, what results you had, and then the expected results. I think that to me is the most confined way to provide like bug feedback. In regards to feedback, I think being concise and like giving us like what your problem is, and then kind of what you expect to be happening versus what you think is actually happening, I think to me allows us to really understand like what you're trying to get to. Because for instance, I worked on a previous game where sometimes you find out that the issue that somebody has isn't the issue that they're saying. For instance, we had like a weapon and someone was like, oh, it feels like it's not doing as much damage as the other weapons. But then I went in and looked at data and I was like, oh, they're doing exactly the same amount of DPS. So it's not a damage problem on the data side. It's actually an animation problem that's making it feel like it's not doing as much damage. And all we did was alter the animation and everyone's like, oh, this change is so good. It does so much more damage. And we're like, it doesn't really do any more damage. It just feels better. Because we understood like, oh, the problem is that people feel like it's not doing enough damage.
Yeah. This is a hard question to answer just because, what's to be expected with transparent development is that players won't know the difference on a lot of development related, things. Of course, that's why, as you said, it's important to give good context behind any of the feedback, right?
Yeah.
Because then it allows the developers obviously to read into what you're saying specifically and know with their developer
Because sometimes the issue
instinct.
you're encountering isn't actually happening.
Right.
So we'll go in and we'll test it. We're like, oh, that's
Sure.
not happening. And then if we don't have
Yeah.
context, we're like, well, it's
Sure.
not broken. So
Yeah, what I would say that's helpful to me, in addition to what you described, Margaret, is I think one of the things that's important about being a tester in an environment like Ashes, where you're fundamentally testing a true alpha system, is be willing to spend some time outside of gameplay to read through forums and what other testers have said and are saying as well, because that will better help contextualize your feedback also, and it'll give you insight to what others have been saying, maybe have you think a little bit differently about your experiences. I think that's an important thing. I also think one important thing, and it's not really something that testers or non-developer audiences can do per se, but I would say an important part is understanding the stage at which the development is supposed to be at. Meaning, for example, like when I say, hey, we don't have much of the UI implemented at all. A lot of this is placeholder. And then if a response or feedback is like, I hate this UI. Well, if I read that and I'm thinking, yes, me too. I hate the UI as well at this stage, and it needs to be more functional, but that's something for a future testing period. So becoming familiar with what you're testing and why you're testing what you are testing. I would say that's an important thing. But let me just say, with that question being answered,
just read, because we do provide you a list of what we are properly testing.
But with that question being answered, I will say our community has performed amazingly when it comes to feedback and when it comes to testing, because true testing is a difficult task. I mean, it is a very redundant slash repetitive slash monotonous slash you're not playing a game. And that's something that we've tried to say many times in the past about alphas, at least with regards
We
to
told people
ashes.
don't buy unless
Right.
you want to help the development process,
Yeah,
right?
but I think
Which is really funny from a marketing perspective of being
right.
like, don't buy this.
It is funny. But I think we saw super positive response from the community regardless of that, right? And even amongst our testers. I mean, um, we had great response from our testers, from our community. The feedback was, and even if the feedback is redundant or not necessarily applicable to the testing period itself, at least reading what the players are saying gives us confirmation that our intentions are down the right road of what players want to see. And that's always a good thing as well.
All right, we took a long answer for that.
I'm so
Um,
sorry.
no, I think it's great. I think both of us
Well, that
had
was
a
an
lot to
important
say.
question because it references the community specifically.
Yeah, I know. I love that you were telling people kind of like read up. I think a lot of the
Hmm.
times, even on the community side, from our perspective, our community managers are basically like broken records. They get very used to answering the same question over and over
Yeah.
again. We do supply a lot of answers for you on our support site. Like literally, there's a KB articles for almost everything. The community has an amazing wiki with a lot of answers. Like if you just take a moment to do a little research on the question that you have, you might find the answer pretty quickly, because
For
everyone in our
sure.
community is just amazing. Otherwise, we are helpful. We will answer the question that we've answered a million times. Cronus wants to know about split body versus root motion. Based on recent feedback, what direction are you leaning towards in regards to split body versus root motion
I
combat?
think we're leaning towards split body. Well, I don't think we are leaning towards split body. I do think. I think very often and a lot, sometimes too much. But in this regard, split body.
He thinks a lot and he makes decisions. Uh,
True.
George Black wants to know action versus tab targeting. Are you still considering whether the combined action slash tab targeting combat will be replaced by either tab only or action only?
No, I think that we will find a healthy medium between the two. I think that really what it comes down to is the definition of action. And I think that there is a varying degree of opinions on what action targeting means, so to speak. But as I've clearly defined in the past, and as you can research on Wiki, our opinion on, at least my opinion on action combat, is, I think, well represented in the way we want to hybridize that combat in Ashes of Creation. And I think that there is going to be a good balance between those two, and it should be a seamless transition between the two as well. And we're going to be fleshing that out further as we move forward.
And I'll answer this next one, which is from Pyrial slash Pyrial. They want to know about dwarves. Will the Dunir be seeing an update on their appearance? Yes. You all have sent us a lot of feedback. We are going to be showcasing a lot of those changes next month, probably. I've been working with production to try to make sure that that kind of gets pushed a little bit forward so that we can at least show you guys some work in progress changes next month on our development update. So stay tuned. We heard you. A lot of us love dwarves. We agree. So you'll be seeing some
Yes.
changes coming
And
along.
I've been working with Ryan Richmond, who's our lead concept artist, on some of those changes that we'll be making to the Dunir dwarfs to make them more traditional fantasy, stout-looking dwarves, right?
Thick boys.
Thick boys and girls. But yeah, that's. I don't know if it'll make it by next month because there's some revisions that we're here and going
Yeah, I
back
think
with,
we're
but it
going to
might be the
show
month
some
after.
work in progress. Not,
Okay,
it won't be
sure.
final stuff. Obviously, it's going to take more than a month to finalize those bad boys because the base of the models that they create are going to affect
Yeah.
everything going forward,
And
especially with
the
character
dwarves
create.
that you saw in Alpha 1 actually will be more similar to the Nikua as well. So something to be said about that.
Ooh, nice. All right, and then we have from Sethrago wants to know about orcs. Will the more goblin-esque Vec be as short as dwarves or just slightly shorter than their Renkai brethren?
No, I believe they are slightly shorter than the Veilun, but slightly taller than the Dunir. So they're in
Okay.
between the two.
And Angelic Shia wants to know about stats. Are our stat points, strength, dex, int, granted statistically as we level based on our class, or can we reallocate them as we wish, kind of like adjust them?
So, as of right now, definitively, there is going to be a tattooed system which will allow certain slots for you to apply stat migration. But it's a give and take relationship. There will be higher quality magical tattoos that can be applied to the character in order to adjust stats. But
Like
for
a
the most
magical
part,
enchantment.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, tattoo system. I think we've talked about that in the past too. So if some
We
people are
have.
like, "What?" Yeah. So one up road wants to know about nodes. Will the type of nodes of each location be shuffled before launch so that beta testing doesn't reveal their secrets?
Unfortunately, no. Beta testing will require that the node types be definitive, and that's because of how node types are integrated into the relating and corresponding neighboring points of interest and those quest lines. So it's not something we can swap very easily.
Right. And Ekin wants to know about corruption. Will there be any large scale consequences when many players in a group, guild, region, religion, etc., become corrupted frequently or for an extended period of time? Ooh, interesting question.
It is an interesting question, but no, there are not group dynamics or mechanics that revolve around mass murdering people in the world. The corruption system is intended to deter mass murdering, not to provide incentives by which players can go out and gain corruption. so, so that would be a little bit anti.
I think they're wondering if there's going to be consequences, large scale consequences. So, for instance, I think the question is more along the lines of like, if my guild has no one corrupted and your
Uh,
guild is like 80% always killing people and always corrupted, will your guild have repercussions because they're corrupted versus my guild?
No, I don't think so either. And the reason why is, we want to deter it, but we don't want to make the system meaningless. And if the deterrent becomes too heavy-handed, then it's a system without a purpose. And I think that the intent behind the corruption is that, like, during a rise in passion and like anger and whatever, you want to make this decision and do something, and you'll suffer the repercussions later. But if those repercussions are just overwhelmingly bad and even antisocial in the sense that like your guild is like, hey man, you went corrupted and this gives us like corruption points on the guild and like you're out of here, like then people just aren't going to choose to use it, and then at which point might as well just take it out. So I think there's a healthy balance between the type of deterrent used as keeping players not performing this corrupt activity very often.
Yeah, people would just group up and not like be
Right.
in a guild, basically.
Yeah.
There would be a way around that, right? Like,
Yeah.
Um, next question is from Hakaiju, and they want to know about careers. Will there be development or design related jobs available at the Amsterdam office as well? And I don't think,
Yes.
well, we have development, like design related jobs?
Not design, but there might be
They're asking
like
about
live
design
ops.
related.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, not design related.
No,
That would
like
be
live
here in the
operations
States.
and publishing. So that's like
Yes. It
community
would be
team,
in
marketing,
marketing. Yeah,
production.
exactly.
Yes. But probably not so much on the like development design side, design art slash
Correct.
engineering. Cool. All right. Um, do we have time for a couple bonus questions or should we wrap things up here?
We can take one more. The
Okay.
best question you can find.
Okay. Roll me a 1d3. No, I'm just kidding.
All right. What? Oh, wait. Hold on.
Do you have a
Ready?
one?
All right. It's a 4. So 2.
Okay. So Brain Dance's question. There was 3 questions that were on here as bonus ones. This one is in regards to caravans. Based on risk versus reward and PvP flagging not applying to caravans, what does a player risk when they attack a caravan versus defending their caravan?
Got
So,
it.
what do I risk when I'm like gonna go attack a caravan?
Well, there's going to be gear degradation that occurs on death. In addition, obviously, there's a time component, and also, there's going to be an associated quest system that determines when you're participating in a assault or a defense of a caravan, that it's going to track your record of successful defenses or successful attacks. And if you have failed attacks, so you've opted in to participate, and you have a failed attack, essentially you did not achieve your objective, that's going to count against your record in the quest system. So these are progressive quest systems where you are achieving something as either a highway robber or defender of caravans, and your successes in each of those categories is going to determine the types of rewards that you're going to scale up over time based on that record. And that's the incentive slash disincentive not to participate in something you don't think you will have the ability to achieve.
Interesting. All right. Well, with that, that's our August development update. So thank you all for joining us. We really appreciate it. Of course, final reminders, we do have a dev discussion and guild gathering up right now. Please get your answers in as our community team will be compiling those. And we will have our new ones coming up here in September. We would love for you to get involved in those so that we can gather your feedback and make changes that you are interested in seeing and being part of our development. Of course, the August cosmetics are going to be swapping over on September 1st. So if you want those, snag them up now. And with that, we will have the VOD of this will be up on Twitch right away. And we will be uploading it over onto YouTube along with our website and all of that jazz afterwards, and on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. Give us a good follow. We're in all the places at Ashes of Creation. We try to keep you up to date almost like daily with new content and new engagement and new fun things for you guys to help us out with. And all of those things get reported to our development team. So please do so. We love it. And we love seeing all of the amazing fan art and fan creations that you have. So keep sending them our way. We love seeing them, and we will keep you guys updated on all of the things as we move forward.
Oh, and
Anything
everybody
else?
needs to wish Margaret luck tonight because she's going to get her butt kicked on some talisman.
What? Savage. We're going to be playing some board games, so he
Yeah.
thinks he's going to win.
I think. Wow.
All right, we'll see you guys next month.
Bye, everybody.